Are things even worse than you've heard on Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids and the whole car market? Had a little bit of a problem there. Sorry about that, guys. Are things even worse than you've heard on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, and more? The results from our predictions on the last episode are really going to surprise you. This is Bid Nerds. We have all new predictions. The bidding starts now. Nerds! Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. What is up, nerds? How are you guys? Welcome to a live episode of Bid Nerds, your nerd out on the most interesting cars from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. My name is John Polnik. I am coming to you live from the downtown container park in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Rami studio, along with my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco. What's hiccups? What's happening, Michael Deeb?
I was just, when I get to see myself on camera, I was just checking in on my beard. I've been so insanely jealous of that mock you have on your chin there for the last, what's it been, like 6 months? So I've been working on this, and it's a little embarrassing at first, but it's starting to come in. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. But Independence Day might be the last time. By next week, I might give up on this thing and just go shave it all off. But how do you keep yours so stylish, man?
I spend money. I got to go down to the place where they do the clipping thing, and it's a little out of hand right now.
God. But yeah, you're talking me out of it.
Got to do all the things.
I thought you did it on your own, and I was going to say an extraordinary job you do.
Mm-hmm,
this is starting to look like my dog threw up on my chin. I don't know. So, anyways, moving on.
Las Vegas has lots of hipster barbers here in the downtown Las Vegas area. Yeah,
We do here too, but I won't give them any money.
We are going into 4th of July weekend, right? Long weekend. Bid Nerds, welcome you guys in the Nerd Herd to hang out with us. Happy Independence Day. Looks like my friend Leaf Buick is hanging out saying Happy Independence Day, everyone. What's up, Nerd Herd? You guys rock. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wednesday night. We had a little problem with our Sunday night show. We tried to go live, and boy, did that crash. So to the Nerd Herd that tried for us, again, we love you. Thank you. But I was there I was in the San Francisco location for Bid Nerds, hanging out with Michael Deeb, and it just didn't happen. But anyways, we tried. So we got a big episode for you tonight before we get to going over the predictions from the last episode and coming up with new predictions. Just want to give a shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas. They are currently in the final throes of their restoration project. They will be debuting that car on the 27th at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic here in Las Vegas. And they asked me, yours truly, to MC the show. So that'll be a complete disaster for them. So
I want to come out for that. That's
you
awesome.
got to come out for that.
I want to come out for that.
They'll be bringing the car to you in Monterey for Works Reunion, so everyone can see the car. I don't know exactly what date that is, but look up your time.
Let's go backwards for a second. What year is that car? Is it 86 or 87?
It's a 1986 M491 that was presented to them as a convertible when they found it at auction. And when Steve dug into it, it was revealed that this car was actually a Targa. So mistakes were made in the past, and Godden is here to correct those mistakes. So we've got a fun film that we're shooting for that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But the 27th, if you're in Las Vegas, you want to come and see the unveiling of that car, come down to Godden Classic. All right. Go ahead.
Are you since that car's triple black and a Targa, are you putting a deposit on that car?
I think it's going to be out of my league, man. That is the car that I want. That is it.
So you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the ultimate Polnik mobile, man. Just put all your chips in. Let's go. Just go bet
I'm
everything
gonna have
on
to
black.
trade in all the Porsches and the watches and everything to try to get that thing. Yeah, it is a beautiful car. They have done a spectacular job with it. I've seen the progress, and it is truly amazing. Speaking of watches, if you're going, hey, look at that, they're almost on time, that's because we have our fine Swiss watches serviced and repaired at Our Smiths. OurSmiths.com. Fine Swiss repair out of Idaho, up there in Boise, and our friend Anthony Vieira. But you don't have to be in Boise. You can just send them your watch and they'll get you hooked up. All right, let's go over the predictions that we made on the last episode. There's some crazy results from those. We've been hearing a lot of buzz in the market. Everyone's talking about the market crashing and correcting, and by and large, I believe that is pretty much the truth. But the cars that we chose last week to make predictions on would kind of make you scratch your head and go, is everything crashing? Is everything correcting? What was the first car that was on the list, Michael Deeb? Let's catch up with that.
All right, JB, checking back in with the 1998 Lamborghini Diablo SV that was on Cars and Bids. Our car was showing 24,000 miles and was adorned with a gated 5-speed manual and the SV's extra 510 horsepower V12. This car was reviewed by Doug DeMiro, listed on Cars and Bids out of San Diego, California. JP, there's no way you could look at this car as a car guy and not want to drive it. You could be forgiven if you didn't want to own it, but you definitely want to drive this car. I thought this car could bring $320,000 on Cars and Bids, but I wasn't sure if it would sell for that because this really should be just under a $400,000 example with the extra few miles that this one has at 24,000 miles. JP, you took the under at $299,999, and Nicole Johnson was in studio with you and did the show from the Rami studio with you. She took the over at $339,000. We have to say big shout out to Randy Bloom, who is out to dinner tonight with his buddies celebrating the holidays. So we will probably not see him in the Nerd Herd, and we will not get his reviewed numbers. You know, he normally keeps track of all the Nerd Herd. But JP, our car hammered for $310,000 where it failed to sell on 24 bids. So I was the closest on that one. But I only beat you by $1 if you think about it. If you had done 300, we would have shared it, but I beat you by a single dollar based on your $299,999 bid. So John, you know, the way you opened the show when you talk about the results, again, in the neighborhood that you and I were talking, we didn't think this would sell at those numbers. Nicole being up there closer to 340, you got to wonder if it got to 340, would this car have rolled? Again, on paper, JP, this should be 375, 390 car. If it had half the miles, it would easily be over 400. They only built 165 SVs out of 2,800 Diablos produced. By the numbers and with the extra equipment, this is a very special car, but this is not that car's moment. So JP, read the tea leaves for us.
Yeah, this car really is beautiful. It is the car that you want if you are looking for a Diablo, but would you really want to spend the extra money? A lot of people consider this car the GT3 version of the Diablo. You taught me that, Michael Deeb. Unlike the Aventador SVJ, which I have driven, that definitely, you know, like I've driven multiple Aventadors, and having driven the SVJ, you can absolutely tell the difference. This car, looking at it, does have a few visual cues, like you pointed out, those scoops on the roof, the big obvious silly graphic that we all complained about on the last episode, and some pretty cool wheels.
Nicole loved the SV, by the way.
Yeah, right. I haven't driven any Diablo, so driving the difference between a regular one, if there is such a thing, and an SV, I couldn't tell you what it's like. It is the visual extras. I just don't know if it's worth the squeeze. And I think right now, all these big, super hyper exotic cars are just they're taking a beating right now because there's only a few people that want stuff like this. And I think the platform was just not the right place for a car like this. I think something like this has to be on Bring a Trailer in order to get the eyeballs. There is someone out there that's probably willing to pay the extra money for it, but they're just not on the Bring a Trailer. I'm sorry, they're just not on the Cars and Bids Doug DeMuro's platform to see it. And eyeballs are everything. If the eyeballs aren't there, you're not going to get bidders. I think this is one of those situations where Doug just can't get it done. If it were an SVJ or an Aventador, I think maybe he could. But this more classic variety, I think he has trouble with that. That's where he seems to stumble. What do you think of that?
I think this car would do well in a live auction, but a really quick question before we jump to the next would be, we're seeing this emergence of a couple of new high-end auctions like Supercar Blondie and Sotheby's Motorsports. These assets would not have been good enough for either of those two platforms. But if the assets were better, do you think this car would have scored a higher hammer on, let's say, Sotheby's Somo?
I think that's a good point. The new guys on the block are really going for the top, right? Sotheby's and Somo and Supercar Blondie. They don't want most, like 9 out of 10 cars on Cars and Bids are not Diablo SVs. We're talking about S2000s and Miatas and the occasional Ferrari, but it's usually a modern one. It's, a brand new or a 458 or something like that. We're not seeing super amazingly rare classic stuff on Cars and Bids. So Supercar Blondie and Somo have far fewer eyeballs than BAT, but the eyeballs that are going there and the bidders that are going there are looking for the high-end stuff. So as much as I don't like either of those platforms, and I really don't like Supercar Blondie's platform, I think this car probably would have had a better chance on either of those two, and maybe even Haggerty. All right. Well, what do you guys think of the results of this beautiful Diablo SV that Doug DeMuro just couldn't get out of his driveway? Do you think the seller should have taken that money? What was the number? 3 what?
I just turned it away.
That's all right. We
310.
And does this represent, are things worse than we think? None of us on the panel bid as high as this car got. So we were all more bearish than what we thought the market would bring, or at least on Cars and Bids. But it did bring more than any of us thought. It just didn't sell. So let us know what you guys think of those results. What does that mean for the overall market? Put it in the comments below. And what was the next car that we had on the list?
All right, JP, checking back in with the 1988 Mazda RX-7 SE that is on Cars and Bids. Boy, we gave a lot of love to Cars and Bids on our last show. Peter George from Las Vegas selected this car for us, ironically. In other words, he thought this car was so hideous, he wanted to know what the herd would make of it.
He John, hates us, apparently. About... Jeez, what's up? What did we do to you, Peter George?
Oh, I love it, Peter. Absolutely. Peter made for a good show. Thank you, Peter, for doing that. Our car was out of Waxahachie, Texas, 1,300 miles shown, but true mileage unknown. Essentially, JP, this is like one of those Stance Wars cars, with like carbon hoods and aftermarket wheels, and apparently it's got a hot rotary motor. The interior looks pretty stock, save for the steering wheel, but there's a lot of equipment here. The car only had 3 bids when we reviewed it, and JP, I started the bidding just over that bid at $17,500. You said the car would not get another bid, and thus your bid was where it sat on the third bid at $16,000. And Nicole Johnson, who joined us in studio in the container park for our last show, she took the over, going to $18,000. It's worth remembering, JP, that we had a member of the herd talk to us in the chats and basically call the 3 of us out. That's including you, Nicole. Sorry you got roped into this. That the 3 of us knuckleheads didn't know what we were talking about, and that the equipment that is inside of this car, including the drivetrain, we're easily going to bring $25,000. And while I don't remember that bidder's handle, I love that they called us out. We mentioned it in the moment and said, yeah, we'd be happy to be wrong. We just don't get this genre of car. We don't cover them very often because it's not our jam. But we would gladly be wrong if that's what happened. Well, joke's on you, mister, because The car did not get another bid, JP. You were correct. You got a Yahtzee on this lot. Our car sold for $16,000 on 3 bids, not receiving another bid between the time we covered it and the time it hammered. What's interesting, JP, when you juxtapose that against the gentleman's comments about the equipment and the value here being $25,000, sure, we could have gotten lucky if that's what the hammer was, but the seller took the money at 16 grand, affirming that this is really not worth that much money. And again, we're just playing with the herd, because, we really don't know what we're talking about. But this car doesn't have a great look. You talked about it as being sort of an antiquated style for today. And while this car may go well, I just feel like, don't you want your car to look a little cooler than this? This is really, Peter picked a winner. This is the Ugly Dog Award of the year so far as I'm concerned, JP. What do you make of that result and the comments from the herd?
Yeah, the Fuel Fest kind of drift thing, scene, look, those kids don't have any money. Everyone's out of money. So this particular car, I think this kid was smart to have sold it. I really do. This is probably the smartest thing he's ever done in his life. So good job, vape kid. Just don't spend all the money on more vape. That's going to be the problem, is that as long as he's gotten his money out of this thing, and he probably lost a considerable amount of it, it was probably representative of his entire net worth, and hopefully he does something smarter with the money his next go around. This is a neat car. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, and I hate to knock a young enthusiast, because look, when I was young, and I definitely did some stuff to cars and spent way too much money on them, and made some very questionable decisions, and had cars that looked similar to this. I think stuff like this, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to sell, because I think we were all talking about how the economy is not in the best place. Not many people think it's going to get any better anytime soon. And this is definitely not the kind of car that you can finance. It's not like you're going down to the credit union going, hey, what's the blue book value on an RX-7 with a bunch of plastic
from the 80s?
From the 80s, yeah. You're not getting a loan on this thing. It's just not happening. And if you did, the interest rate would just be punitive. If a banker was like,
brutal.
Okay, you want to, so stuff like this is just going to really I think it's just circling the toilet bowl. But the result here is still that it did result in a sale. So someone did actually buy this car, and I think that are things worse than they look? I don't know. I'm happy to see that that there is still some mobility when it comes to buying and selling cars like this. Just want to let you guys know that we did try to do, for those of you who are watching tonight in the Nerd Herd, again, thank you. Because we know some of you were here Sunday night and saw the first half of this, so some of this is a bit deja vu. But for the rest of you folks who are coming in here and watching this episode after it's live, that's why some of the comments are kind of like going, hey, we've heard some of this stuff before. So anyways, what do you guys think of the results of this RX-7? Does this represent a crash in the market, or are things better than we thought? Let us know in the comments below, and let's move on to the next car. What do you got, Michael Deeb?
Before we go, Michael S. says it's just as ugly tonight as it was on Sunday. That's so funny. Thank you. That car sold for more than twice what I thought it was worth. So you're right, JP. That was a successful sale. Checking in on the 1973 Volkswagen Thing that we covered previously. Interesting car on Bring a Trailer, JP, showing 54,000 miles out of Kersey, Pennsylvania. Look, I love a Thing because you had one when I met you, and nothing put a smile on your face as much as that car did. And I can say that confidently after knowing you for like 7 or 8 years. This one is pretty cool, but you yourself said it's got a few too many mods as to be, slightly away from what a standard one should look like. So we just wondered how well this one would do given the modifications. It's certainly the right time of year to sell a Thing. But JP, I started the bidding at $12,181. You took the over at $14,181. And Nicole Johnson, who joined us on our last show in studio, in the Rami studio with you there, JP, she took a real high over, going 50% higher than your bid at $21,000. JP, nobody knows these cars better than you. You were damn near a Yahtzee, my friend. $14,500 was the hammer where our car sold on 29 bids. John, I hate to tell you this, but you missed a Yahtzee by $319.
Wow.
I bet Rochelle would have given you the $319 to get you the Yahtzee, just pull you out of the doldrums. But that's Miss Cleo stuff right there, JP. You were right on the money. Tell us why you were right.
Well, this thing appears to be pretty nice. It just had a bit of an identity problem. The mods that we pointed out aren't terrible. Most of them are functional. Having the little bit of a brush guard on the front and back, that's usable on a thing. Putting in the Baja seats in the interior, that's also usable. Jacking up the suspension a little bit, also usable for a Volkswagen Thing. Bumping up the size of the engine displacement, also very useful. This car is all there. It just has one big glaring problem, and that's the wheels and tires. That is a decidedly street setup for what is otherwise a very capable dual purpose on off-road vehicle. This is the kind of thing you're going to want to take in the dirt and the mud and the sand or what have you, and to put flat street tires on there with these centerline goofy looking wheels just doesn't make any sense. The seats in there, I know Nicole didn't like them. She thought they were from a Jeep or something like that, but these are very common Volkswagen Baja seats that you would see in a Volkswagen Baja Beetle. So that totally makes sense, and they actually have some headrests unlike the factory ones, and and they're cloth, so they're probably pretty comfortable. This has got the roll bar. I mean, I really like this thing. They're just not commanding the money that they were about 6 months to a year ago. I think if this thing were more stock, it would have brought more money, or at the very least, if they would have put some wheels and tires that were period correct and off-roady looking, this thing would have probably brought a little bit more money. But I'm watching things all the time in the market, on Marketplace or in other places that you would normally find these for sale, and people are asking numbers closer to what they were going for a year or two ago, and that's the $20,000-$25,000 range, and they're just sitting there. No one's buying them, unfortunately. So I think Bring a Trailer pretty much did the best they could here. There could have been there's a few $1,000s left on the table because of those wheels and tires. The other thing too is things look best when they don't have a top. You got to put the roof down on this, and you've got to take pictures of it that sell that romance of driving one of these around without the windows and without the top up. They just look a million times better. The top up just kind of ruins it, really. So congratulations to Michael S. Looks like he got a Yahtzee, so good job to him. I missed it by just a couple of bucks, and there it is. I'm glad to see that this thing sold at that price and that the seller didn't hold out. I think if they had tried to hold out, they'd have been sitting on this car for a very long time. Like I said, kind of like that RX-7. I don't think things are getting any better for the short term. So if you want to get off of a car like this, you got to do it right now, where it's at least still fun in the summer. I think as we roll into fall and winter, it's going to get pretty rough out there. So what do you guys think of the results of this 73 Volkswagen Thing at 14.5? Do you think that the seller left money on the table too, like I do, or do you think that the prices are just going to keep falling? Let us know what you think in the comments below. All right, Michael Deeb, did we have any other cars from the last episode? We didn't, so let's move on. All right, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we have all new predictions right after this. Stick around. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas.
If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds.
Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, fine Swiss repair means it's time for some brand new predictions. All right, we opened up this episode asking the idea, are things even worse? How bad is it? In the classic and sports car market on all of the auction sites, we've teed up some interesting cars to kind of, I think all the cars on our list will be an interesting test when we finally see the results when these cars close. But let's go ahead and analyze some listings. And the first one on the list is what, Michael Deeb?
JP, I don't think we're going to learn anything from this next car because I think this car is an anomaly. We have found somehow, some way, a 1984 Volkswagen Rabbit GTi, a Mark I, listed on Bring a Trailer out of San Jose, California. Are you sitting down, JP? 34,000 original miles. And as John scrolls through the photos for us, tell me that this is a Volkswagen GTi and not a time machine, and I will call you an effing liar on the air. This is a time machine, JP. Look at those seats. I want this car so badly. Of all the cars that we have looked at, nothing has screamed high school to me more than this car. In 1984, I graduated 8th grade and entered high school later that same year. This car is just everything. I mean, JP, you and I are both closeted Volkswagen fans, and we've been doing the show for 4 years. In the 4 years we've been doing the show, we have never seen a Mark I Volkswagen this nice. And we've seen a couple of really nice cabriolets, Rabbits with manual transmissions that have brought some serious money. But you and I would say no to all of them for a shot at this GTi. White with the blue interior, the snowflake wheels. It's got the little golf ball, shifter handle, the stock steering wheel, the stitching on the dash. It is all there and just looks like it's been hermetically sealed. You know these cars technically better than I do, but man, JP, this is just an absolute nostalgia play for me. Cars from this era are, here in the States, we call them Radwood. All around the world, they call them young timers. And, a lot of times that can be, 80s Mercedes, 70s, Porsches and things like that. But this Volkswagen, for our generation, as being an accessible car that, your well-to-do family friends would buy for their kid while they were still in high school. This was the envy of the neighborhood. And now here I am in my 50s looking at a computer at a photo of one that is really, really nice. And I have those same feelings of envy again because I'm not bidding on this car. But JP, I would love to have this thing in my garage. I would love to take it on a rally. The photos... they're taken at the golden hour, so the light is nice, but there's nothing romantic about the photos, and it doesn't matter. I still want to be in that seat. So somehow, to me, this lot is already a massive success. It still has 3 days before it closes. John, did I mention the car is here in the Bay Area? You could fly out and give me a ride down, and then we could drive to Canada in it. You know what I mean? Like, we could go pick up your mail in Seattle in this thing and would never get bored. So, JP, I serve it over to you. I was thinking about you when I selected it, but now I'm getting very greedy, and I don't want to share it with you. I want it all to myself. This thing hits all the buttons, John. What a cool car.
Yeah, you're going to have to sell your M491 911 to be able to afford it, I'm afraid. Where the hell has this car been? And why is this guy deciding to sell it now? I mean, where was this hiding? What garage was this in? He clearly wasn't out driving it around. Did someone die? And I apologize if that's exactly what happened. Because this is like, if someone's been holding on to this car for this long, It has this few miles, and it's in this kind of condition. The time to have sold it would have been, about a year and a half ago when we were seeing, the Mark II GTi with 50,000 miles that we cite all the time that got like 80 grand, right? I don't know. We're not getting to the numbers yet, but this is... You're right. We've seen a lot of these over the years, and none of them have ever been nice. There have been a couple that have been fairly clean, but they had like 190,000 miles. Or we've seen some with fewer miles, but just weren't in very good condition. This one has actually low miles and looks like it appears to be in original condition. No rock chips, no rust. The seats aren't worn out. The bolsters. The thing I am just jacked up about is that Dolby stereo, the two knobs with the auto reverse. 1984, that was like, holy crap, the tape will just start on the other side. Oh my God. You can listen to your, Bon Jovi or Billy Idol or whatever. I don't think Bon Jovi was on the scene in 84 yet. This is, God dang. I mean, so much time was spent in these back in the 80s and 90s. Oddly, I never actually had one. I always had Scirocco's, but I can't count. I don't have enough fingers to count how many friends had this exact car or ones very, very, very similar to it. So definitely spent a lot of time around these. Whew. So disappointed by the presentation of this car. It's honest. Yeah. We can see everything. There are lots of photos that are showing all the different details of the car, but I really want someone like our friends at Avant-Garde or someone like that to get a hold of this car and present it in a way that really, really honors this car's heritage, what it means to so many guys our age, the romanticism of this car. This car, Deeb, your M491 and this car in the same garage would be the ultimate two-car solution.
84s.
It even has air
both
conditioning.
84s. Yeah, working air conditioning. And JP, I'm just thinking, the way I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. Now that it's summer and all the high schools are dormant, wouldn't it be cool to park this in like a high school parking lot, or you know what I mean, or a high school schoolyard? I don't know, something about this just reminds me of school in the 80s and all that stuff. But what an amazing find, JP. When I look at this car, the first thing I notice is that the lower front air dam looks like it was freshly painted, but it wasn't. It was painted in 83. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, the snowflake wheels, everything about this car is just so perfect. Andy Stahl, friend of the show, he's saying that he had this exact car in high school. That's awesome. Like, down to the wheels and the shift knob and the lack of a sunroof. I mean, this thing is so awesome. Okay, let's get to some numbers, because I think when we talk about the correction in the market and everything that's going on, and downturns and declines and crashes and interest rates being high and inflation and all that stuff, I think this is the kind of car that could very easily defy all the bad news. So what do we think this car will bring? Michael Deeb, you're first up, buddy.
Oh man, JP, this is so hard. It's sitting. All right, so let's go back for a second. John, our car is sitting at $21,000 and it closes in 3 days from now. That $21,000 is made up of just 7 bids. I think people are waiting on this car. It's going to close over 4th of July weekend, but not on the 4th itself. Oh man, it easily goes to 44, but I'm thinking this car is going to go higher. So I am going to change my bid from 44 and I'm going to go $51,984. So 50,000 and then 1984, right? You get me? $51,984 where it sells, and will be a new high watermark for the GTi that is essentially not a we saw a Callaway Turbo bring 60 on Bring a Trailer back in 21, and we saw an Oettinger, a 83 GTi 16S Oettinger model in Europe sell in 22 for $59,000. So I think this will be the highest price paid since we've been keeping track of the auctions for just a standard production GTi. I think this one's going to do it. So again, John, to you, $51,984. What's your bid?
I'm with you. This car has the potential to not just be the highest bid Mark 1 GTI, but call it the highest priced, highest bid Volkswagen of the Radwood era. Highest bid Mark 1, highest bid even Mark 2. This car should be worth more than that Mark 2 GTI
Hallelujah.
that went for $80,000. Honestly, I'm not even kidding when I say it, that this car has the potential to be a $100,000, a six-figure GTI. It's not going to happen, though, because these photos straight up suck. The presentation is leaving tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of dollars on the table. Even if this car surprises us and goes over what everyone in the nerd herd is saying, everyone's like, we've got people at 51, 50, 48 and change. Deeb's obviously at 50. Gerd, who is a guru, says 43, and I got to go with him. I'm going to go a little bit above him. I'm going to say 45 and say that it sells. But I think this guy is literally leaving $50,000 or more on the table. This is a situation where you got to read the room, people. This car is absolutely special, and sometimes people are just too cheap for their own damn good. This guy didn't want to spend literally $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on photos of this car. He's going, why would I do that? It's a GTI, right? He doesn't want to give away money to some broker who's just going to take a big chunk of the dough. Look, trying to sell this car on your own when you don't know what you're doing is going to cost you $50,000. I like where Andy Meyer's at, 61.4. I hope you're right. Yeah, this car needs representation. This car needs eyeballs. This car needs to be promoted, and this car could get all the money. It's just not going to happen on BAT, and I think this is probably a terrible weekend to do it. I think a lot of people are taking 4-day weekends because 4th of July is on a Thursday, so everyone's gone. Yeah. Everyone's going to be out camping or doing whatever, floating down a river, eating hot dogs. I think this car is just mistakes were made, and I want to be wrong on this, but I doubt it. I just doubt it. So we will see. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below, and we will talk about this car on Sunday and find out what exactly happened. All right, Michael Deeb, what is the next car on the list? That was a great pick.
Yeah, JP, that car was so much fun. We have also selected a 1971 Volvo 1800E with a 4-speed manual that is currently on Bring a Trailer as an alumni listing. Our car is listed out of, and John, you're going to have to help me with this, Oswego, Oregon, Oswego, Oswego?
Like yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Oswego, Oregon, currently showing 78,000 miles, but true mileage unknown. This car was previously listed on Bring a Trailer in September of 2021. And John may pull up just at least one photo of what the car looked like when it ran back then. Back then, the car sold for $15,500. But at that time, JP, it was green and on the East Coast out of Cheshire, Connecticut. It sold in September as the season was winding down. So coming back to market, and now in this very fancy gray sort of metallic, this car has absolutely been hot rodded and customized out. Black bumpers, mud flaps, the aforementioned gray metallic paint. It's got a snazzy steering wheel and a few other accoutrements to kind of hop this car up. I think the motor is still basically stock. It's a 2-liter B20E inline 4, making about 130 horsepower, 130 pound-foot of torque. Volvo makes some fun driving cars, and this is one of them. It's not going to impress you with its speed or handling, but this is still a modest sports car and perhaps a pretty safe way to enter the genre. If you're looking for a vintage car and you want something that's at least a tinge reliable, I would say that this would be a bad starter vintage car for somebody. And so the question remains, JP, do the changes, do the modifications, are they going to help this listing, or has this guy just sort of modified it to taste, and now as he comes back to market, he's going to take his lumps, and he may not recover the $15,500 that he paid for the car, less whatever he's invested in the modifications, cosmetic or otherwise. So JP, I present to you this car that is certainly different from when the last time it ran. You know, you and I, we go back and forth about how modifications can enhance a value and bring eyeball to a car, and then occasionally we argue or contest that sometimes a car should be left alone, or in some cases the money should be invested to put the car back to stock if you have the parts, because that's where the real money is. So the debate now begins on this Volvo. Some mods have been made over the last 3 years. Yay or nay?
I don't understand what the hell is going on here. The green was the original factory color? Or was this the original factory color?
No.
Like,
no,
did he return this back to what it used to be? Or
I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say in the listing or anything like that. It doesn't say what color this car started out life in, because I can't for the life of me figure out why the hell someone would go from what it used to look like, you know. This is so right now I'm showing the original green color, the way this car used to look.
I'm going to jump in for just a second, say that in the listing in 21, on the BAT Essentials, it said repainted green. Now, at that moment, we don't know if it was repainted its original shade of green or if it was repainted and the new color was green. But it was either the green that was on the car wasn't the original paint on the car. So the mystery rages on. But I would venture a guess that even if the metallic gray was an original color, all the bright work being blacked out is certainly modded for taste. The Volvo would never have come with all that black trim. That black trim was only the domain of Porsche and Ferrari in that era.
Yeah, this color that they chose, like, okay, fine, you're going to change the color, but this color just does not look period correct to me at all. This is just like, what the hell were they thinking? We've got a Nerd Herd member, I think new, Aramai. Looks like, I think that's someone we haven't seen in the Nerd Herd. So welcome if you're new. If I've missed you from before, I apologize. But he's like, they painted an Enterprise Rent-A-Car Dodge Charger gray, and you're absolutely right. What the F were they thinking with this? I mean, it was a beautiful car in this green. Even if that wasn't the original color, at least that looks like a color that this car would come in. And this is such a weird looking car. It's such a unique. It has so many unique lines with the wings on the back fenders and that weird swoop on the door, and just like it's all over the place in a fun way, in a way that should be just absolutely charming, but with this kind of aggressive dark gray, almost murdered look to it. At first glance, it kind of looks like, is this like a satin black wrap? Like somebody had wrapped a 964 in satin black? And you know,
who would do that?
Who would do that, right? This car just looks like it's trying to be aggressive when this is just not a car that you would think of as an aggressive, mean-looking car. This is a smile. This is a happy car. This is a puppy. The equivalent, of a happy puppy is what this car should be. But instead, it's like, I'm trying to be mad. Look, I'm a sports car. Really, trust me. Believe me. I swear to God, it's like, who are you trying to convince? So I don't know. Yeah, definitely these mods are absolutely going to hurt this car. So what do we think this car is going to bring with the abomination that they've made it into?
All right, JP. So again, in September of 2021, this car sold on Bring a Trailer. This is really interesting. I just noticed something here. JP, sorry, we're going to take one extra minute with this car. This is interesting. So in 2021, this car was listed as an alumni, but in 21, they didn't create a hyperlink for when it previously ran. So I was hoping I could jump back further to see what it had listed for and when. It just was listed as an alumni car in 21, but no hyperlink was included in the body of the thing. So, all right, so that took us nowhere. But anyways, back in September of 2021, this car sold for $15,500 in what is likely an original shade of green paint. And that got there on just 11 bids. Our car is currently sitting at just $5,000. It closes 4 days from now, and it's sitting at the $5,000 on just 6 bids. JP, I agree with you. I think this car is pretty much DOA. I don't think it has a chance to get back to its original 15 grand. I think this car is struggle to bring, 11,800. I'll give you that, right? 1,800. So 11,800 is my bid. This is, interestingly, JP, it's a reserve auction. So at 11,800, I'm guessing it FTSs for my number. So if my number is correct, I think the guy still owns the car at the end of the day. I'd be shocked if he listed it for that low a number to sell. So anyway, JP, $11,800 to you. I think at FTS. Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty optimistic. This guy, I think, ruined the car. Just absolutely, abjectly ruined the car. When you're going to change the color, that's all kinds of problems. And then look at this. You got the hood open, and you can see everything inside the engine compartment is still green, and you've got this goofy modern exterior color. If this car makes it to 10, I'd be amazed. If it's at $5,000, we often see everything kind of double by the end of a BAT auction. I'm just not there. I'm gonna go short. I'm gonna say 9,500 and say it doesn't even double. I think this car, and yeah, it definitely doesn't sell because this.
Give me
this
your number,
guy,
JP.
$9,500.
Okay, so you and Bryden Leadon are on the same. He goes 9,500 and fails to sell. Buddha says $7,500. Scott Derrickson's at 10,800. Indy Dave's at 10,000 FTS. Leaf is at 65 FTS. And Frozen Car Guy, $12,000. JP, the question I have now that I'm thinking about it is, did we miss it? And it's just a wrap that somebody could take off, but they still painted all the bright work black. So even if you unwrapped it, the green wouldn't look the same without the stainless or chrome contrast of all the bright work. So I agree with your original sentiment, wrapped or otherwise. He abjectly ruined this car, and that's a damn shame.
Well, look, I don't want to move forward onto the next car if we think this is wrapped, because if it was wrapped, that is a completely different situation. This car was finished in green and was repainted in metallic gray.
All right, cool.
Reading it in the ad.
Yep.
Yeah, this thing was painted.
Okay, go.
So this is a paint job, people. It's not a wrap job. Because if it was wrapped, we'd have to start all over. Because wrap can be reversed and you can get back to that green. And then I think the guy definitely gets his money back. But no, with the paint,
I'm gonna confuse you, JP, because the fact that he painted it, it's a wrap.
For this listing, for sure. There
Zinger.
it is. Dad jokes are
Nerds.
extra charge. That is correct. Gerd still seems to think it's going to get 12.3. I mean, these cars are sought after. People do like these. They are neat. Yeah. But I think it was ruined. So I don't know. Well, let us know what you guys think this car will bring. Was it ruined by having repainted it, or did the guy make it better? I don't know. Maybe somebody out there likes it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And what is our final car of the night?
All right, JP, you chimed in and selected for us a 2016 Mercedes-Benz G550 that is listed out of Lexington, Massachusetts, on Bring a Trailer, showing 31,000 miles. The G550 sports a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8, and that sucker will move this car. I know it's not the G63, but this motor from Mercedes gets out of its own way. 416 horsepower, but more importantly, 450 pound-foot of torque. So despite the heft of this car, I can tell you, I know exactly how this car drives. It's got plenty of stink. These things are fun. It is a Designo finished Mystic White with the it's got like sort of these cognac colored seats. I love the colorway of this car, JP. And like, don't get me wrong, I would love to have a G63 with the AMG. But let's face it, in these days, everybody's a baller on a budget, and I think this is plenty of G-Wagon for the money. Brand new in 2016 at a list price of like, let me see, I pulled this up for just a second. It was $136,000, including destination and delivery. So I think this car is low miles, good condition, Carfax certified, one owner, and is going to prove to be a fantastic secondary market value. The question I have for you, John, as I hand it back to you, when we look at a car like this that is likely clearly out of warranty, do we have enough faith in Mercedes-Benz or the G-Wagon as a platform that you would venture to own a car like this without a warranty? Or would the bid nerds tell the nerd herd, yeah, you want to buy this car, but you got to budget for yourself some sort of at least drivetrain warranty so you don't get caught out. If something went wrong, it could be catastrophically expensive to repair. Yay or nay on going live without protection, raw dogging this thing, or do we endorse the idea that it doesn't matter? Any late model Mercedes should be protected by a warranty. What do you think, JB? Because I feel like you know these cars 10 times better than I do.
Well, that wasn't where I was going to start off with talking about this, but if we want to get there, look, the 550 is the one you want because it is far more reliable than the G63, neither one of them are going to get good fuel economy, but at least you're not going to be like having to fill this thing up every 25 miles. No, these are reliable vehicles. I mean, that's what's great about Mercedes and their V8s, man. These things go and go and go and go, and it's funny because you look at any other Mercedes from 2016 with this powertrain, you see them all the time with 200,000 miles on them. They're just fantastic. You're going to have here's where the maintenance gets expensive on these brakes. This car weighs 5 gajillion pounds. I don't know exactly how many pounds it weighs, but it's probably darn near 6,000 pounds. And because it's fast, you're stomping on those brakes all the time. So brakes and rotors probably each axle is probably $2,500 to upgrade. You've got drive shafts and stuff like that. Regular maintenance stuff is a little bit more, or is significantly more expensive than say a Honda or a Toyota or something like that. But it's going to be regular maintenance stuff. Like I have never heard of one of these engines failing, like straight up failing. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. The transmissions, I've never heard of any problems with them. Mercedes knows how to make a big, powerful drivetrain. This one in particular, with the Designio package, it basically looks like a G63, so it has that G63 look with the big, the front air dam thing, the intakes or whatever you want to call it. This is just a cool truck all the way around with a cool color. I actually kind of want one of these. The reason why I chose this is because it kind of goes with the theme of tonight. How bad is it? Is it worse than you think? These are one of those vehicles. If you look at Mercedes and like an SL500, you can't give away. If you had a 2016 Mercedes anything else, they are just spiraling the toilet bowl in value. But somehow G-Wagons continue to hold their value. And I'm seeing these go, or at least, in the market with 100,000 miles or 85,000 miles. Most of them in 2016 have at least 80, 90,000 miles on them. So this one to have 30,000 miles is really low. So at a typical miles with, call it 60, 70, 80,000 miles on them, people are still asking, $50, $60, sometimes $70,000 for them. I don't think anyone's getting $70,000 for one of these. But with this few miles, take a look at this though. I wanted to juxtapose this box with this box.
Yeah, I know, right?
The big question today is which one will bring more? Michael Deeb, how much is this G-Wagon 550 going to bring? What do you think?
All right, JP. First of all, I want to answer your question. Our car weighs 5,724 pounds. That's the curb weight of a 16 G550. So you are correct. This is nearly 6,000 pounds of a heavy downpour of testosterone. John, our car is currently sitting at $35,000 on 6 bids, and it closes 3 days from now. JP, I think our car will hammer and sell for $65,550. Here's what I'm going to say to you. If this car were in California, I think it would bring a little bit more money. I think this car would bring a bit more with the low miles and the excellent condition, because the other examples in this car, like, most of these cars are, let's say, in LA. In LA, when you're driving all over, a 2016, like you said, is going to have well over 100,000 miles by now. So to find one this, I hate to say old, but with so few miles, it would bring more money. But this car's in Massachusetts, and I don't think somebody's going to pay exorbitant retail in Massachusetts for this car. Not in New England, not in the summer. And I think, if this car is going to LA, you got to figure it's going to cost you $3,500, $4,000 to truck this behemoth out to California. So I just think it's in a tough place, despite it being the middle of the high season. I think if this car somehow some way is in a pickle and is not going to bring 70 or 80 grand. So I give you 65,550. What's your bid?
It's interesting looking underneath this vehicle, knowing that this one is from Massachusetts. You look underneath this car, and to me, it's like, is this seller the same guy that's selling that GTi? Were these vehicles sitting in the same garage? This vehicle, someone bought this 4-wheel drive SUV with center lockers, full diff. Like, this is one of the most formidable off-road vehicles of all time, and here it is. It doesn't look like it's ever seen anything harder than the mall parking lot. So normally I would say, a vehicle like this is usually bought for a reason in the Northeast, and that's to deal with the rough winters and the horrible mess of roads and salt, that combination that people in that area of the country have to deal with. But this thing just looks like it was their summer rig, and that's the only time they took it out was to go out to, I don't know, are they driving out to Nantucket or going to
crabs, lobster season?
Exactly. They're going to the country club or something like that. This is the one you want. And honestly, for my money, I would rather have this generation G-Wagon than the new body style. I absolutely hate the new body style. It's gotten bigger. It's basically a big Mercedes minivan. Everything feels plasticky. It doesn't have that solid feel that these have. These definitely harken back to the manly man's vehicle that these started out as being. These were military rigs. This chassis is basically a truck chassis with a body just bolted to it and a bunch of luxurious interior bits. But really, when you start driving one of these, you're reminded very quickly that it's just not that big as they look. When you're inside of it, there's no cup holders. They got to add like these little like cup baskets. They look like basketball baskets. There's no room in these. They look huge, but they don't have any room. It's kind of like they're just very deceiving and terribly fun to drive and very engaging despite of its boxiness. I absolutely love this truck. A brand new one, even a used, the new body style, wider, bigger G-Wagons are still in that $150,000 range. So you're going to go out and spend twice as much as that for a lesser vehicle, in my opinion, one that will depreciate faster. I think the value of these is going to hold better. And to see one with low miles like this, I am going to bid $75,000. And that's not because I think the market is going up or that, I'm not disputing that the market isn't in a great place, but I think this is the kind of vehicle that will get a solid result because it's harder and harder to find stuff like this. Everyone talking about the car space over the last 3 years, for so long, everyone was talking about how, oh my gosh, there's a massive shortage. Oh, there's just no cars because, they couldn't make cars fast enough there during all the lockdowns and stuff. This is one of those vehicles. A lot of these got driven like crazy and got a lot of miles put on them because you couldn't really replace them with any. It was hard to get new G-Wagons for 2-3 years there. Yeah. So all the old ones got driven and driven and driven. This one, to find one with low miles, you just don't see them very often. So yeah, I think it's going to bring big money. Someone wants this, and it's the kind of vehicle that you can buy it and be in it and just have it forever and not to have to buy another vehicle for a very long time. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Will this G-Wagon bring all the money like I think, or is the market worse than we think and it's going to fail miserably? We sure like hearing your bids. Gerd is with me, 71.5.
I saw that. Gerd's the only one in the 70s besides you. Everybody else is in the 50s and 60s. Okay. We're really bearish on that. Oh, there you go, Tom. Tom is up there with you at 71,550. I see what you did there, Tom. Nice bid. A lot of high 60s, but we'll see. Yeah, this will be interesting. I agree with you, JP. Maybe G550s aren't worth 75. But this one is. My struggle is where it's located. I feel like if it was already in California, it would get into the 70s. So that's what I'm betting. We'll discover what happens when we revisit it on Sunday. What do you say, JP? Ready to go light some bottle rockets like
Happy
Container Store?
4th of July, everyone. You guys have a great Independence Day. Yay, America. Wave those American flags. We love America, and we love you guys in the Nerd Herd. Thank you so much for making it possible for us to do this show. We love doing it. We will be back this Sunday. We are not taking Sunday off. We didn't take last Sunday off. We promise. It just didn't. We just show failed. There it is.
Like
Sometimes
6
that's
people that saw
technology.
that show.
Yeah. So there it is. All right, and send us some links, guys. Send us some listings that you guys want us to analyze. We love doing the ones that you guys send us. We hate picking. It's way more fun when you guys pick them.
I gotta tease ahead to. Let's see, what are we talking about? So Sunday show. So we have Sunday. So on Sunday show, Randy picked a car for us, JP. This is going to rival what Peter George picked for us recently, as an ugly dog. That's all I'm going to say. But Randy I think he picked a winner. So shout out to Randy, who's at a concert. Shout out to Chris Carbine, who's out to dinner with Ann. And Carbine is in the comments, and this guy is looking at his phone at the table with his girlfriend. And he's like 6 states over. He's on holiday with his lady, and he's still watching the show. Carbine, hang up your phone and go kiss your girlfriend. Thank you to the herd. Have a great, safe holiday. Good herd members are repeat herd members. We'll see you on Sunday.
Keep all your fingers, guys. See you Sunday.